we are so happy to announce we're going to share an interview with the one and only SUZI QUATRO.
I have to take a deep breath because I just do. She's, one of my childhood, I don't like to say, idols, because I don't really idolize rock stars but I have ones that
you like a lot.
I think are pretty darn cool.
Yeah, same here.
And she's one, and she's just the impact that she's had, especially on all musicians, but especially for female musicians.
Right.
And it's a big deal, not just within music, but for what she stands for too. Kind of being a chick and being a girl and being able to do whatever you darn well please.
That's right. And she stands for so much.
And do it well. Do it just as good as the boys, if not better. So
that's the key word, if not better.
Exactly.
Her new album is really awesome. We're going to talk about that and much more. SUZI QUATRO. How are you, SUZI QUATRO?
I'm doing great. It's the hottest day in the UK so far this year. So I have put out I'm anal, by the way. I've put out all my cushions, and I said I'm staying out here all day. I will go to the lounge chairs, to the bubble, to the swing chair, to the other chair, to the table, and I won't go until the sun goes down.
You sound like a very active person. I love it. We are really impressed by that new album, SUZI. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to do a lot of small talking. The new album is phenomenal. We really listened to the whole thing from beginning to end like twice last night, and wow.
Thank you for saying that. It's so funny because I don't know how we did it. I honest about it. I started to work with my son on No Control, and we've really connected, but that was our Getting Our Feet Wet project. And then when it came to this one, he got his confidence. He's only, 36? And he got his confidence on all the compliments from the last album. So then he put his feet down, and he's a little bit too old to ground, but I nearly did. And he said to me he wanted this album to be as groundbreaking as the first one. And he really had a blinders vision. So, we had a few little ups and downs, mainly about his studio speak, because he doesn't know how to say something that he thinks is wrong without being offensive with it. So I had to teach him that. He's now getting that. Well, that's only experience,
Yeah.
And a good mother.
Yeah, you have to be able to say to an artist, and Richard's a guitar player, and you say it when you're in there doing what you're doing. If I'm playing bass or I'm singing, whatever you're doing, you're very vulnerable, because people are in the room and they're watching and they're listening. And even though you're sure of yourself, part of you is going, oh God, I hope this is okay. That's the way it is. That's every artist. And so I had to teach him a little bit, just be a little bit gentle. I mean, I'm very straightforward myself. And I've seen Richard, I saw him freak out 2 or 3 times when his father, my ex-husband, my ex-guitar player, was in the studio and his dad said something, and I saw Richard lose his cool. So I said, remember that now when you're dealing. So anyway, it's people have been comparing this partnership to Chin and Chapman. I've just gone, what? So we've really developed something. We have. Yeah, it just works.
Can I ask how long it took to record the album from beginning to end?
Well, we were both going to be 220. I was going to have one of my busiest years. I had the really good year 219 with No Control, my documentary, maybe 85 shows, sold out solo shows in iconic venues. So huge year. And he was busy with Biba Doobie, who we used to work with. He doesn't work with her anymore. I shouldn't have said that on air. I think he's going to leave now. He doesn't want to be on the stage anymore unless he's on the stage. And then I was on the road last year. I was supposed to be maybe 85, 90 shows. It was going to be high. And then the lockdown came. So I said to him, okay, so instead of getting depressed about this, let's just write the album. Luckily, I had built a studio before the lockdown. I didn't know the lockdown was coming. I built a small demo studio in the grounds. I said, there we have it. You go out there, you work on tracks. I'll sit on the patio, which I like to work. I'm old school, I'm not a button pusher. I'm more of more just press. It's like on an old tape recorder, press play and put it down. That's how I am. So we both worked, and then we had nowhere to go, nothing to do but work on the album. So we dove into it. It took from the end of March when lockdown started. By September-ish, we were ready to put down the tracks properly in a proper studio, studio quality.
Yeah.
And by October, we had delivered the album. But fantastic. It's just, everybody's saying it. It's my best work. So I don't know what happened, but it happened.
Well, I was really moved by so many of the songs, of course, but Isolation Blues really caught me last night. I love that song. What about you, Tracy?
Yeah, it was really heavy. I listened to it like 3 times, and I was like, gosh, so many people are going to be able to relate to this song.
Yeah, the relatability to so many of the songs seems to reflect what's happening in our times, and you captured it.
Yeah, that's, it's funny, both of you, because I've done maybe 500, 600 interviews for this album. And many, many people are picking out that track not because it's a single. They're picking it out because it speaks to them.
Yeah,
it captures it, doesn't it? It captures what we're going through. And when my son played me, he works with tracks. So he had this little track done, no vocals, just a track. He's a very good guitar player, puts down a basic bass and a basic drums, and we build on it. And he played it for me. And I said, I like that. And he said, I thought maybe we could call it Lockdown Blues. I said, no, we can call it Isolation Blues, because then it widens it. Because it doesn't have to be it can be about any dark time in your life. And then I went into my little bubble here on my patio, and I had the track on my computer, and I dug down deep into myself and put on that paper with the lyrics and the melody, every single thing I was feeling. And that's what people are picking up on, that I'm saying exactly what I'm feeling. I went right down there, And my favorite line of the song is, I'm G&T and getting so high. It's an alcoholic lullaby. I love the cheekiness of them. And ain't it the truth? I said to somebody when I was doing the interview, I think people who don't drink are drinking right now.
That's funny. There's another song on the album called Betty Who, and I'm wondering, who is Betty?
Okay. There's a story to that. That's the one I did with Cherie. She's a very good friend of mine, Cherie Curry. Richard had this riff. He's a very good riffer, by the way. Very good riffs. And he said, I got this riff. What do you think, Mom? And he's shown it to me. I said, I like that. I like the feel of that. And he said, I have a title. I said, okay, what is it? Because I'm usually the title girl. But he had the title. I said, what is it? Betty Who? I said, okay, what's the reasoning behind it? He said, well, when he was working with Biba Doobie, he said she had a tour bus, and it was called Betty Who. And I said, right. I don't mind the title. I don't like it being about a tour bus. Leave me with it. And then I made it about a groupie. It's like Betty Who. And then it all made sense. When I made it cheekily about a groupie, tongue in cheek, I thought, oh, no, that's the song.
Yeah, and we noticed the catchy riffs in that song too, so kudos to him for the great catchy riffs.
Absolutely.
Another one is we made notes on the songs because I think it's important to talk about the music and not just like the past. Get Out of Jail, is that another lockdown sort of pandemic reference? Like Trippy Bridge, Save Me from This Hell.
I know. This is so funny. Just before lockdown started, we were thinking about what tracks could go on, and Richard had this basic little track done of this. So he showed it to me just before. And he said, Mom, this is a crazy idea. I said, okay. Because I sometimes listen in my room, in my office on the computer. And he'll send me the track, and I'll listen with my acoustic bass, songbook, listening, finding my way in. And he said, what about, Mom, if you were in jail and you had to get out to do one more gig? I went, okay, interesting concept.
Yeah.
And I didn't work on it right away. I liked it, but I didn't work on it. Then about 3 months into the pandemic, I put that song up. And I called Richard into the office. I said, right, now it's easy, because now we're living it. Now it's happening. I can write this right away. I can write the lyrics immediately. Get out of jail. One more gig before I die. Easy. We're living it. It's not imaginary. We're living it. And I always have to live something. So I said, I can now use your idea, but put it into what we're going through you know. And then he had the idea to do that chain gang thing and all that, and it really came out good. What a great song. Just goes, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. And I made notes about every single one of these songs. Before I ask any more about music, Susie, I'm sure you've been asked a million times, but I don't know the answer. How come you're so darn recognizable and huge and popular all over everywhere, but not so much the States as the other places? What happened with that?
You have to watch the documentary, Suzy Q. It really does explore that very, very well. It does. It answers it. First of all, I relocated to England because I got offered 2 solo contracts at the same time within a week. One to stay in New York with Elektra Records and become the next Janis Joplin. That's not really. They were serious. And the other one was for Mickey Most from England to come to England, make an album, become the first SUZI QUATRO. So I came here. Now, that was 71. By 1973, I had my first #1 all around the world. By 1974, I took the English band back to America to start touring. Did a lot of gigs, sold a lot of albums. The hit singles were a little bit elusive there, but the albums were known and I was known. But when I went there, back home, after 3 years' absence, I noticed that all I heard on the radio was Linda Ronstadt and the Eagles. Done.
Changed.
Yeah. This is what was happening. So as Mike Chapman says in the documentary, that little space of time where I was having million sellers everywhere in the world, but America, it was a little bit early for them. They didn't get me. They thought a girl bass player doing this, doing what, and they didn't quite get it. And then it took Happy Days to kind of make what I was doing acceptable, because there I was, this bass playing girl, obviously a real player, in this #1 TV show. It took that to establish me. So they discovered SUZI QUATRO. If you love the Tuscadero, it doesn't matter. You got there in the end.
I'm just going to say it. I mean, I'm 50 and the first time I ever saw you, I was fairly young and it just blew me away. I never forgot it. I got my first leather jacket because of you. And I mean, I saw that and I was a little kid and I remember thinking, this chick is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I was like, it was totally new to me because I was a huge Elvis fanatic, as you were. And 68 Comeback Special was my thing, and I just remember seeing you the first time and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Girls can rock and play bass. And this was 70,
Yeah. The whole secret is I didn't then and I don't now. I don't do gender. I never have done. I don't think I've ever called myself a female musician in my life. That's not how I see myself. Elvis was my first hero. And at 5.5, seeing him on the Ed Sullivan Show, I decided at 5.5 that I was going to do what he did. It didn't occur to me that he was a guy and I was a little girl. I didn't even think about it, And it didn't occur to me big time until I saw my documentary for the first time in front of an audience in a cinema, in a theater. And it was my first premiere. And it was so, you're there with an audience. And that's when you really get it when you see it with an audience. And I was due to go up for the question and answer at the end of it. And I really wanted to see that in that room. So I snuck into the side. They didn't know I was in there. A few people saw me and I went, shh, leave me alone, leave me alone. And I watched that documentary with all these women, every woman you could think of coming up and saying, oh, just because of her, we did. So I was watching it and I was in tears. And the next day, I called my good friend who's in there, Cherie. She wrote a song about me, which appears at the end of the documentary. And I called her up, the ex-singer from the Runaways, and I called her up and I said, I was at my premiere last night, and I have something to say to you. And she said, what? And I said, I just realized for the first time ever in my life, and I've just turned 71, so this would have been when I was 70. I said that by me doing what I did, I gave permission to women all over the world, permission to be different. And she went quiet. And then I love this story. There was a little pause on the phone, and then she went, "And you just got that?"
Yeah.
Is that a great line? It was actually perfect comic timing, and you just got that. But that's the refreshing part about me, I have to say. I don't have an agenda. I never did.
That's
As
cool.
you just said, you watched me, and if I had been out there with an agenda, you wouldn't have had that feeling about me.
No, not at all. You were so genuine, and I just, like I'd never seen anybody at that age. I was a kid, and I just was blown away. I just wanted to tell you. I mean, I know you hear that all the time, but
it's not every day you get to talk to one of your heroes.
Yeah, well, I never get tired of hearing it. Believe me, I take great pride in what I do. I've been. I'm just going to switch this off so I can hear you. I've been. Hang on. Off. There we go. I've been in the business. I just turned 71 June the 3rd. I've been in the business now as a professional for 78 years. And that is just mind-boggling. 58 years. 58 years as a professional. I can't believe it's been that long.
gosh, and time just flew.
58 years of gigging.
Wow.
I know, even when I said, I go, Jesus Christ Almighty. And I still get out there with that same passion, with that same feeling, with that same need. I have a need to be out there. I did my first gig since last September. We had one last year in Denmark, one. Actually, there were a couple in February, maybe a couple in January, one in September. So after the lockdown started, we had one that got in under the wire in Denmark with half the people in. So I had my first one on Saturday here at the Peterborough Showground in the UK. And the drummers were doing my intro, and they were allowed 1,000 people in. There was 2,000 tickets sold, but only 1,000 in, distanced at tables. That's how they allowed the gig to go ahead, which is fine. At least we had a gig. And I walked out on the stage to my drum intro, and I went from side to side to side to side. And then I went to the microphone and I went, a gig! There you have get out of jail for real, you know.
Yes, it's like you're playing Monopoly.
Yeah.
Out of all the albums you have, do you have any particular favorites that stand out?
Oh, God, this one for sure. I mean, The Devil in Me, it's going to be hard to beat. We are writing for the next album as we speak, but we really found our feet with The Devil in Me. First album, very special. Let me think. I personally love SUZI and Other Four-Letter Words. Back to the Drive was great because it was after a little space with my divorce and all that, it was coming back into the big time. I love QSP, Quattro, Scott and Powell. And I love both albums I've done with my son. I do. We really did something. No Control and The Devil in Me. Oh, boy. He was over today and we're still going strong. You know, I'm doing an album with KT Tunstall right now, and it's been in the studio sitting there for quite a while because she has her stuff, I have my stuff, and now we're finally bringing it to fruition. Oh, fantastic. I've never been more creative in my life. Never. I can't stop. I just can't stop. I just finding so many things to write about. I don't know about other artists, but this for me as an artist has been the most creative time of my life, this whole lockdown thing. And I don't know why that is. I'm about to release my 5th book, 2 of them created and released during lockdown.
Wow. Amazing.
I mean, that's nuts, isn't it? That's nuts.
Well, you know, and a lot of artists, I mean, you know, seem to, I don't know if they get jaded or they get bored or what, but they seem like to get in the same rut or something, you know, and you never seem like you get in those creative ruts where you can't, like, every album sounds different than the last, you know. It doesn't just sound like the same,
yet retaining your flavor, you know.
It does, yeah, retaining your flavor, but it doesn't sound.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, thank you for saying that, because I agree with that. Maybe that's my anal attitude, which I've had since being born. Don't box me in.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't categorize me. You'll hear that on Do Your Dance. Don't categorize. No, don't. Because I don't want to be boxed in. Maybe I'm that, maybe I'm that. Don't. I'm creative. Let me create. Let me do what I do. It all has my flavor on it. Yes, it's all my flavor. You can't disguise my type of writing, my voice. My voice has a very distinct tone to it, and everything's got the who was it? James Burton, Elvis's guitar player. And Elvis was my hero, as you know. And I did Singing with Angels with him, my tribute to Elvis. And a great song. And the Jordanaires, the original Jordanaires. I mean, give me a break. And I'm doing this whole session with him, and I'm giving my tribute to Elvis. And we were taking a little break during the recording. We were in Nashville at Elvis's studio. And he was listening to my new album, Back to the Drive, on headphones. And he said to me, Susie, I got to tell you something. I said, what? This James Burton we're talking about. I said, what? He said, well, you got that thing Elvis had. And I went, what? What? You know, I was nearly on the ground. And I said, explain that. And he said, well, the only way I can explain it is that everything you do is you. And I will take that to my grave, what he said.
Yes.
You know, I said to him, I was joking, and I said, I don't even care if you mean it or not, James. I'm keeping it.
I think he meant it.
I think he did, but what a compliment. And I understood what he meant. I did understand what he meant. That even what you just said, even though the album is diverse, my stamp is on it, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. You know, like I said, it's not the same old formula just every time. You know, it's just always fresh, and it's cool.
On the new album, Susie, there's a song called Motor City Riders. Is that about the old crew in Detroit and stuff?
Oh God, yes. On the whole album, those are the lyrics that I worked, and you never usually have to. It's not called working at lyrics, but you're digging deep and you're making sure that every syllable counts. Okay. Sometimes you have one of those songs that's so important to you that every syllable has to count. So this one was about growing up in Detroit during the 60s, and I thought, I want to represent this as it was. You know, as it was. What I was feeling like, what it was like, what the mood was like. And everybody has said what a well-written lyric that is. Yeah, it's about Detroit in the 60s with everything that happened to everybody who lived there. And I have that opening the second half of my 2-hour show. And on the gig on Saturday, I used it as my extra encore. Yeah. Great. You see, I still treat each gig like it's brand new. I don't rest on laurels.
Yes.
That's very cool. Did you, I have to ask, because I'm a fan. Obviously you're also in radio, so I'm sure you have your fans of certain people other than Elvis, but Detroit, being in Detroit in the 60s, I mean, Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels, and I know Bob Seger's from Ann Arbor, The Last Herd. I'm a big fan of his early stuff, and
we everybody asks me that. All the Detroit people, all of them. We all, I can't say I was fans because we were colleagues, so we were a little bit younger than a lot of them, maybe 2 or 3 years. So my first band, the Pleasure Seekers with my sisters, we started to, first of all, we saw them quite young, and then we were in the band, and then we started to do gigs, same gigs together. So we're all friends. We all know each other. But there is a, God, I've had this conversation so many times. Me and Alice in particular, in depth, we've had this conversation. What is it about Detroit? Detroit has... there's an energy, there's an edge, and there's a danger and a desperation in Detroit. This all comes out in the music. You've got all your different Greek town, Italian town, German town, Polish town, black, white, rich, poor. You've got all these extremes, and yet we all get along.
Yeah.
And that's what the City Riders says, you know? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. We all get it.
Yeah. Detroit, I lived there when I was a little kid. Of course, totally different time. It was in the 70s, but it sure has changed a lot. It's been through a lot. The city that's really been through.
It has. And now it's coming back. Now they're they're building each. They're redoing each iconic building and getting back to its former glory. And you won't keep Detroit down for long. You just won't. There's a survival thing there. That's what the song says when you hear it. You know when it says 3 a.m. alive, getting out of town. That happened to me. The riots started. We were on TV. We were watching TV in Grosse Pointe, which was a ritzy suburb, and watching the machine guns across the street and people coming in and raiding the shops downtown. My dad got scared. We went to a gig in Detroit, in Buffalo, for the Pleasure Seekers early. So we really were 3 a.m. in the car getting out of town. My dad wasn't on the gig. He took us there. And the Molotov cocktails dropping from the bridge. It's all what happened in that song.
Wow.
Crazy.
What year was that?
Would have been the year of the riots. Was it 67 or 68? I think it was 67.
So, yeah, I think so.
Recently, we did receive copies from your sister Patty of the Pleasure Seekers and the Fanny CDs, which we really dig. And I wonder if you have any plans for the future to perhaps work with Patty down the road on anything.
No, I haven't. God, that was so long ago. I'm now 71. I was 21 when I stopped working with Patty, so that's a long time ago. Yeah. I don't think so. She did visit me when I broke my bones, and she came over and visited, and we wrote a song. We wrote a song together. Maybe that one will come out, but no. And Patty's not really in the business as such. She hasn't been for a long time. She was in Fanny, and that's the last time she was in it. So it's not like she's been in bads and gigging. She keeps her thing alive and her projects and all that, and her Pleasure Seekers and Cradle, which is her past, her history. But no, I don't think so.
How did I know when you had your accident, and I remember reading that it was your left wrist, and I'm like, oh my God, she's a bass player. And that was, did that heal up well? Did you have?
Yeah, no, it did. It did. Long story short, I was coming back from a gig from Kiev, and all of a sudden we were on steel steps, and I went to lift my gig bag up. I'm so little, the gig bed didn't go high enough. It went against the stair. Down I went. Right knee, left wrist. Right knee, left wrist. Great.
Boy.
I had to learn how to play again. Because that's all the work. The left hand does all the work. And good, because what it made me do was address any bad habits I had acquired.
Mm.
Yeah, everybody has little cheats. Every musician. Oh, I'll do it this way. Every musician has it. So I had certain things I did, and I couldn't do them anymore. So it actually helped me in a way. I had to learn to walk again.
That's huge.
Wow.
What a time. But it's all good. Yeah.
About the new album, there's a song called "If You Can't Dream It." What is that one about? Is that about life being surreal?
That was a weird thing. My son again approached me. He's not a lyric person, but he's an idea person, and I'm very much lyrics. I am all about the words. That's me. Always have been. I'm a Gemini. This is what we do. Yeah, words are our tool. They are. So he told me this idea he had about a dream that you can't wake up from. And he gave me that idea of the dreams, so you can't dream it. So I took it into that dark space where the way I related to that, what he told me his idea of it, I said, okay, mine is where you can't, that space where you can't wake up.
Yeah.
Mind extreme it. You're there, and you know that you're sleeping, and you want to wake up, and you can't, and it's terrifying. You're pushing and pushing it, and you can't quite get there. And I always wonder. I took that in that song. If you let yourself not wake up, is that your death?
Yeah, right.
No, when you're trying to wake up and you can't, does that mean that you would die if you don't try to wake up? I've always wondered. I'm too chicken to try it out. I'm not going to try it out.
Please don't.
No, I won't.
Yeah.
Listen, I've got about 5 more minutes. Is that okay?
Yes.
Sure. That's about what we have.
I got another one coming in. So at 7. So I'm sorry I was late. It's my fault, not your fault.
okay.
That's okay.
We're so grateful to have you on the line. And I'm a retro guy. I'm a pop tart, like Rob Halford from Judas Priest calls himself. And I love pop and rock and roll. Back in the 70s, I know you did lots of gigs with lots of famous bands and different bands. Did you get to do much with the Bay City Rollers by chance?
I was very close with Les, knew him very well for many, many years. Lovely guy, just loved him. Yes, we did lots of gigs with him. Les and the guitar player. Those are the two real talented ones.
Eric.
He's gone now, Les. And my husband booked the Bay City Rollers for many years, and then he booked Les McEwen on his own for many years. Yes, I knew them very well. They were a cute pop band.
Yeah.
Did you know Pat McGlynn?
Irresistible.
Do you remember Pat McGlynn?
Yes, sure.
He's a good friend of mine. Just thought I'd ask.
Had to mention that.
Well, we really appreciate your time, Susie. Tracy, would you like to wrap up the interview? I know you've been excited as heck. So
I've been sitting here with my jaw on the floor, but most of the time. But what's up for SUZI Quattro in 2021? If I know we're still kind of precariously placed in this kind of twilight zone, nowhere land, not sure what's happening. But if everything gets back to normal, are you going to be touring this year or next, or?
I am touring this year. There's a lot of stuff in the book. Hopefully it will happen. There's a lot moved to 2022. I am not ready to stop.
Well, why do it? You're still rocking it. Why would you?
You'll have to get the hook and pull me off.
The devil in me.
Absolutely.
It's the new album by SUZI QUATRO. You're listening to KSKQ and the Church of Rock radio show, speaking with legendary, and we say that often, but we mean it this time, legendary SUZI QUATRO. Very grateful indeed. Susie, thanks so much. I know you have a lot on your plate today, but it's been a real pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you both. Thank you guys. Mwah. Big hug, big virtual hug, and big virtual kiss. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Susie.